Hi, I'm Frankie Mazzapica. I hope you enjoy the video that you're about to see. It's our desire that at the conclusion of this video, you will have a heightened expectation of the plan of God for your life. The title of my message is Two Protective Walls. Two protective walls. We're going to unpack the first one and then we're going to unpack the second one, because everyone here is either building one protective wall or they're building another. They're not building two at the same time because everyone has to choose which wall are they going to build. The first one is talked about in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 11, where it says, "The wealth of the rich is their fortified city. They imagine it to be a wall too high to climb." The wealth of the rich. Now, before we start peeling it back and start unpacking that scripture, can we just all agree for a moment that everyone in this room and everyone watching right now is rich? Can we just agree on that straight away? And then I can get into the rest of my message, okay? So for the three people here that don't realize how rich they are, I'm going to ask you two questions, and hopefully at the end of the two questions, you'll realize, oh my goodness, I'm filthy rich. Question number one, will you need to spend all the money you have today in order to live? So when you go to sleep tonight, you're going to have money left over. Is that correct? Is that correct, yes or no? Yes. So when you go to sleep tonight, you will not need to have spent all your money. Is that true? Yes. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, what about tomorrow? Well, worry about tomorrow. As of today, you got way more money than what you need. Are you with me? Shout yes. How many people here last week, you had so much food in front of you that you had to throw it away? Raise your hand if your trash can was full of food that you did not eat last week. Go ahead, raise your hand. Full of food. So how many you already know that at the end of this week, you're going to be throwing away more food that you did not eat? Raise your hand. So you have more money today than what you need, and you're going to end up throwing away food that you don't eat. I would call that rich. Filthy, you guys are a bunch of filthy rich. No, I'm just kidding. We're all rich. Everybody say, we're all rich. We're all rich. I was reading about this in World War II. There was this actress named Betty Gamble. Many of you guys remember her. Raise your hand if you remember Betty Gamble. All right, three of us. Technically, I don't remember her. I just studied about it. I wasn't born yet. But Betty was a famous Hollywood actress. And she was known for having amazing legs. And so she had her legs, the movie studio that was employing her, insured her legs for $1 million. Insured her legs for $1 million. Now let me ask you a question. How many people here would volunteer to have both of your legs amputated for the sake of science in exchange for $1 million? No one here. So in other words, your legs are worth more than $1 million. So not only are you filthy rich, you have $1 million legs. Look at the person next to you and say, I've got $1 million legs. I've got $1 million. These are $1 million legs. If you're single and you are going to get on some type of Christian website to look for a guy, I want you to type in, I've got $1 million legs. You have more money than what you're going to need. You're not going to have to spend all your money today in order to live. When you go to sleep tonight, you'll have money left over. You're going to throw away more food this week in your trash can than some people will eat all year across the world. And you have $1 million legs. You're rich. Everyone say, I'm rich. In Proverbs 18:11, let me circle back around to that verse. The wealth of the rich is their fortified city. They imagine it a wall too high to climb. In other words, rich people believe that the higher their stack of cash is, the safer they are. A fortified city is a city with a huge wall around it that protects it. Rich people believe that the higher their stack of cash, the safer they are. The smaller their stack of cash, the smaller their wall is, the more exposed they are. But they imagine it as a wall. It's not real. It is not real. That level of security is not real. They imagine their money giving them security that they really don't have. Now, let me illustrate this on a personal level. My wife and I have been married for 19 years. Crazy. Put your hands together for Allie. 19 years. 17 years ago, we started having an annual meeting with our financial advisor. 17 years ago, I distinctly remember him telling us, you guys do not have enough money to retire. So we made aggressive changes. A few years later, we met with him again. He said, you guys do not have enough money to retire. A few years later, we met with him again. You still do not have enough money to retire. 2 weeks ago, we met with him again. And what do you think he said? You still don't have enough money to retire. For the last 17 years, we've been trying to work our retirement system to where we will have enough money to retire and be able to be stress-free by the time we retire. We still don't have enough money to retire. And then I finally discovered what that number is. The number that we all need to be completely financially secure. Do you know what that number is? I'm about to save you a lot of time. It's more than what you have. Don't ever forget that. It will always be more than what you have. And we will live our entire life fretting and worrying because we can't reach that number, but there is no number. There is no number. It will always be more than what you have. You go, I don't know, there's some billionaires out there. And that number is good enough for them they have a fortified wall. There's billionaires out there. They have a fortified wall around them. And they're completely financially safe. They're safe from anything. There's a wall around them. And people like, Steve Jobs. Or let's talk about Steve Jobs. I know he's not alive. But like you, I'm carrying around some of his products. iPhone, iWatch, everything. Let's talk about this. He was worth $10.8 billion. Billion. Now, there's a big difference between a million and a billion. A massive difference. I know it's both ends with an N, but no. Billion, million, they're completely two different worlds. Let me illustrate. I've got a dollar here. This dollar, the thickness of this dollar is 0.004 inches. If I had 1 million of these, it would go up 333 feet high. If I stacked them on top of each other, 1 million $1 bills, 333 feet high. If I had 1 billion of these $1 bills, it would go up 67.8 miles high. Now keep in mind that space starts 50 miles above the ground. So if you have 1 billion $1 bills stacked on top of each other, it would go to space. The moon is 240,000 miles away. So if you have 4 billion $1 bills, you could stack them on top of each other. It would go so high it would touch the moon. If you had 4 billion, Steve Jobs had 10.8 billion. In other words, his stack of $1 bills would go all the way up to the moon and then make a circle and come all the way back down. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. But you know what? His fortified wall was not enough to protect him from pancreatic cancer, and he died at 56 years old. There is no amount of money that you will have that will be a fortified wall. It is imagined that it is a wall too high to climb. I pray that the only thing, if you guys only get 1 point out of this message, if you only get 1 point, you and I will constantly be enticed by the enemy to chase this carrot of financial security that cannot be reached. It doesn't matter how much money you have, you will always need a little bit more. A little bit more, a little bit more. I've got friends of mine that are poorer than me, and they need a little bit more, and they'll be happy. I've got friends of mine that are far richer than me. If they had my money, they'd just give it away. And what do you think? They need a little bit more money. The enemy is constantly telling you, work harder, plan more. Work harder, plan more. Constantly, 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 constantly. And I will meet with a financial advisor for the rest of my life, and I will plan to the best of my ability because I don't want to be a fool. But I don't want to be a fool on both sides. I don't want to be a fool and not save, and I don't want to be a fool and believe that my savings is going to keep me safe. I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of billionaires that are sick right now, a lot of millionaires whose family is falling apart right now, that have to take pills and snort powder to keep themselves asleep. People like Michael Jackson has more money, he didn't even know how much money he had, and he needed help to fall asleep. Why is it that this fortified city of cash cannot keep us safe? It doesn't matter how high it is, because the people that we're fighting can walk through walls. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, we are not fighting against flesh and blood. We are fighting against evil rulers and authorities in this unseen world, and they can walk through walls. Against mighty powers in this dark world, against evil spirits in heavenly places. We are fighting against spirits. We've got to get that in our head. If you don't believe that we're fighting against spirits, let me ask you a question. Why is it that you can feel down so low and so discouraged when it's hard for you to write down 3 things in your life that are going wrong? And when you do write down those 3 things, it's not equal to the amount of depression that you can feel. It's not equal to it. It's out of proportion. These are spirits that antagonize us, that cause us to worry, that cause us to chase and build this fortified city as we imagine that it will keep us safe. And the reality is that there's another wall. It's not a fortified wall made of cash. It is literally a wall of angelic beings that stand around you and around your home. When we get to heaven, we're going to look back at ourselves and think to ourselves, oh my goodness, I was so worried. And I worked so hard and I made so many exchanges and so many sacrifices to try to build this wall that I imagined was too high to scale. And all along there was a circle of angels around me. In 2 Kings chapter 6, Elisha was a man of God and he was completely calm and relaxed, even though he was under a tremendous attack. An entire army was coming at him. His servant did not put any stock or value in this wall of angels because he couldn't see it and he couldn't touch it. And that's the thing. You and I are addicted to feelings. We are addicted to feelings. And faith does not include feelings. Faith is being sure of what you hope for. I'm hoping God's going to come through. That's faith. Certain of what you cannot see. I can't see it, but I'm certain of it. And so Elisha looks at his servant who's in a complete panic and says, God, would you open up his eyes so that he can see the wall that's around us? In a moment, his eyes were opened and he looked across the top of the mountains, and all the way around him were angels and chariots of fire. This is the same thing that is around you. There's a story in the book of Job, chapter 1, where Satan came walking into the presence of God. And God looked at him and said, where have you been? And he goes, well, I've been walking back and forth on the earth. And the Lord said, have you considered my servant Job? He's faithful. He's humble. He fears me. Have you considered trying to tempt him? And what did he say back? He goes, well, I would, but you have put a wall of protection around him. I can't get to him. A wall of protection. In Psalms 34, verse 7, it says, the angel of the Lord surrounds those who honor him and delivers them. Delivers them. He doesn't just stand there and watch. He says, okay, you're in trouble. I'm going to have to take you out of this. I'm going to have to lead you out of this. And what you think is an instinct decision, an obvious decision, is the Lord leading you in that direction. And here's the other thing. In Psalms 130, verse 7, he says, he has 1,000 ways to set you free. Amen. 1,000. So he has an angel around you who has 1,000 different options. This is the other protective wall. Remember this. Money is a great servant, but a horrible master. Money is a great servant, but a terrible bodyguard. We use money to provide for our needs, not to protect us. Money will never protect you the way God will. That's why scriptures say you can't trust both God and money. We have to use money, serve God. Are you with me? Put your hands together for that. So here's the question. If you think like I think, you're having this thought. How do I know that my protective wall of angels is intact? Sometimes I wonder if I have the slowest angel in all of heaven. Because I've prayed for things that took forever to come. I mean, there's some people, they pray for things and they got an angel that flies like an arrow. I think my angel is like, oh, there's a bird. Oh, there's a bird. Oh, there's a bird. Oh, I love to fly. I can fly and you can't. No. Well, I don't know what is going on. Have you ever wondered I don't know if I can have confidence in the angels around me because I can't see them. I want you to know that the Lord does not want you walking around wondering if you're safe. He doesn't want you and I walking around nervous that you're safe. He wants you at peace, knowing you're safe, even though you can't see the wall around you. He wants you at complete peace. In Philippians chapter 4, verse 7, it says that his peace exceeds anything that you can understand. It exceeds whatever you really understand, like you're really good at adding and subtracting and multiplying and sewing and knitting. Whatever you think you understand, his peace exceeds whatever you think you understand. And it protects your mind so you can sleep at night. And it protects your heart. This is the peace of God. So how can we have this peace that this wall is intact? Now, the enemy is going to tell you that you don't pray enough, you don't worship enough to have a solid wall of angels around you. That you don't do enough good things and you do way too many bad things. Well, I have a scripture for you. The Bible says this in Romans chapter 9. No, hold on. It's not going to be in my notes because I'm on a rabbit trail right now and I'm going to catch this thing. Romans 11:6, where it says, God calls people, but not because of their good or bad works. He calls people. He called you not because you do good things. He calls you and protects you not because you are an awesome worshiper. He calls you and protects you not because you're godly and you're one step away from being Mary. He calls you and he protects you because he loves you. In Isaiah 49 verse 1 it says this, before you were born, he called your name. He's crazy in love with you just because you're you. Now, how do you and I bridge the gap between saying, God, you love me, you protect me, but I don't believe it, and I'm staying up all night, I need some peace. How do we bridge that gap? Thank you. How do we bridge that gap? Time, how we spend our time is a reflection of what means most to us. If it means a lot to you to have peace, then invest your time into the Prince of Peace. You cannot hope to experience his peace if you do not spend time with him. You can't. You can wish it, you can hope it. I wish I knew that song. I'm a wishing, I'm a hoping, whatever that is. Is that even a song? Okay, great. You can wish and you can hope and you can believe that God can and never experience his peace. You can know that he has peace, you can know that he can provide, and you can never experience his peace because it is up to you and I to pursue him. In James 4:8 it says, if you pursue me, I'll pursue you. This fortified city that we imagine is going to take care of us. It is a wall too high to scale. It's our imagination. And it drives us bat crazy. Our entire life as an American, you've had more money than you needed for that day. And the enemy will tell you that you won't have enough for tomorrow, but you will. Let me tell you, to experience his peace, you have to create a discipline in your life of spending time with him, because your life will never change unless something you do every day changes. Do you receive that? Put your hands together if you receive that. I tell you, there's something on the inside of every man that longs to be in the presence of God, even if they don't even fully understand it.
That's right. Amen.
In Isaiah chapter 62, verse 6, it says this: those of you who pray, give yourself no rest, and give God no rest until he completes his work. That has to be our attitude. Every morning I wake up, I'll be back at it again. Laying the pieces of my life on your altar, waiting for the fire to fall. If you don't move today, I'll be back at it again tomorrow. If you don't move tomorrow, I'll be back at it again the next day. Do you receive that? Put your hands together if you do. When we see God move, we get to celebrate, and then our faith goes up. When you see something happen, your faith goes up. If you like that video, take a second and click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. This way you'll always know every time we've uploaded a new video.